Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, February 2nd, 2026. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy joined by Dan Rubin. I don't know if Puxatawny Pete or wherever we're looking, whatever the Buckeye one is, saw their shadow, but I'm not a big Groundhog Day guy anyway.
Rumor has it he saw the shadow. I think that means more winter.
I always get that confused too. I did read that the old Farmer's Almanac called it correctly. We're going to have a brutal January. Now they came out and they said April and May are going to be really nice in Ohio. Really nice. Like we're not going to bust into summer yet. We're actually going to have a spring. It's going to be warmer than normal, maybe a little drier than usual. So let's see if they go 2 for 2. They nailed January. This is the first time my house has been empty. My dogs are here, but this is the first time I haven't had people in my house since when Jay Book and I were doing the show the previous Friday. It's crazy. They were off school all week last week. Okay, so there we go. All right, let's get to matters of import. Ryan Day has not really spoken publicly, I believe, has it been since right after the game? I think that was the last time. Yeah, I think that was a lot. And that, how those press conferences are right after the game. You're not going to get much. It's not going to be very lengthy. He's not going to say much. I got to watch the film, blah, blah, blah. And then so much has happened since then. Friday, he was supposed to do his radio show. A lot of people didn't even know this. Even a lot of guys on the beat had no idea this was happening. I was texting some of the guys on the beat Friday evening. He had his radio show from 6 to 7 on the Fan and across the Ohio State radio network. And I was texting guys are you listening to this right? There's a lot of meat on this bone. And they'd be like, these are guys that don't miss anything. They're like, oh, I didn't know he was doing a radio show. Here's why. He's contractually obligated to do a signing day show, even though they're not signing anybody this week. And he wanted to get out of Dodge. I think him and his family are rightfully so, taking a nice vacation. And so they pre-recorded the show. It wasn't even live Friday, but like I said, there was a lot of meat on that bone. And Dan and I are going to discuss the meat on that bone. Let's start with what he said about Arthur Smith without mentioning Arthur Smith, because now I think it's a done deal. I think Smith has signed the contract, but when he recorded the show, it wasn't officially official. So he had to kind of talk around it. But he feels like they hit a home run with Arthur Smith. He went into all the reasons why, checks all the boxes he wanted. Give a very detailed answer. Not a big surprise. What's he going to say? It was a so-so hire. I get it. But for him to come out and say we hit a home run with that, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I go back to what I said about this originally. I understand that people have place a high value on Ohio State's program and its place in college football. And maybe we look down on some NFL teams that maybe don't do as well and such. I get that. The idea that a head coach of the NFL, we've seen this movie before. Art Smith is severely overqualified for this job. I don't care what anyone says. That doesn't make any sense. You may not think he was a great coach at Atlanta, and you may have some issues with his Tennessee tenure. But you're talking about someone who there's only 31 or 2 NFL head coaching jobs on the earth. He's overqualified, and not just overqualified. We've seen this template work for Ohio State. I don't think people want to hear this. College football is becoming more and more professionalized. That's just a fact. That's not even really an arguable point. Now, how it manifests itself is one thing, but it's clear based on the last few outside hires that Ryan Day wants an NFL vibe in the people he's hiring. If you look at the last 3 coordinator hires are Bill O'Brien, Chip Kelly, and Art Smith. All 3 have been head coaches in the NFL. So that's a prerequisite. We talked about this. I don't think this is rocket science. I think this approach to coaches at that level, and by that I mean the coordinator job at a school like Ohio State or Alabama, is a lily pad job now where you can get the best of the best. Nick Saban showed how to do this. Go look at the guys he had there, from Daboll to Lane Kiffin, Pat Shurmur, etc. Bill O'Brien. So, I just thought it was a really sharp move. I hadn't heard anything about that. I did look into Brian Daboll and heard from Daboll's people that Ohio State never reached out. Other colleges did. And I think it's pretty clear Daboll wanted to be in the NFL. I'm also told Daboll can be overly alpha, maybe the term I was told, and might not be the best blend. I don't know that. I mean, Bill O'Brien and Chip Kelly aren't known as shrinking violets now.
I was
So,
told a different word. It's a male
yeah,
anatomy. But yeah, we'll go with yours. Yeah. Ryan Day doesn't want to have a bleep as his offensive coordinator. Now, as you mentioned, Chip Kelly, but Chip, it was different though, because Chip can be abrasive, but that was Ryan's mentor. I mean, that was his
Jim
offensive coordinator.
Knowles was the hire that I did not mention, and that while there was success, I don't think that I'm not sure there are a lot of fruit baskets going around at Christmas time among the staff, like you said. So I think they're trying to get the best of both worlds, where there's no need to import drama.
Right, exactly. We'll talk more about Arthur Smith in a moment, but I also found his comments on the transfer portal interesting. I mean, it's stuff that we've been saying. It's obvious what their strategy is. They're going after older guys who are experienced and productive at the collegiate level. If they had 4 stars coming out of high school, great. If not, doesn't matter. Find guys that are productive at the collegiate level that are older. But this is the first time he's been able to talk about it because those guys have all signed now. He really are. You and I both love Terry Moore. That was the first guy out of his mouth. That was the first guy out of his mouth when he was talking about these guys. He really talked up Terry Moore. He talked up Earl Little Jr. a lot. I mean, those guys are going to step in and be starters the way he talked about it. He talked up Christian Allegro. It's not Allegro. That I is in there, but it's just Allegro for those that are wondering. I struggle with that at first. I was calling him Allegro. It's Allegro. And he fits the mold of a Patricia linebacker. You got to be about 6'4", 245. You don't have to be. Peyton Pierce isn't quite that big. Riley Pettijohn is getting at least he's getting close to that. So he really talked up the guys they got in the transfer portal.
It actually confirmed a lot of what we had thought and heard about the connections guys have. We talked about Earl Little having, attended the same high school as Brandon Innes. That was brought up about how the guys knew Earl Little and how he'll be a culture fit. That was another overriding theme, I thought, of Day's chat, was that they are not going to go to the full transfer portal approach. They don't believe talent and culture-wise that's a long-term fit. I don't dispute that at all. I like the way they've kind of more, the way he had talked about Allegro. Was that right?
Allegro.
And, the need to replace Arvell. I don't know if it's player for player, but the idea of the room needing a piece like that. And, Matt Guerreri knowing Terry Moore from Duke. So you're not just going out and like playing the free agency game, or doing Madden where you're just adding personnel. They're adding guys they think are not just fits talent-wise, but, where they are in their career and also familiarity-wise, because this back end, we don't want to add a blank to the room. Importing drama is a negative. And I think Ohio State has had a really good locker room for several years. Doesn't want to give that back. I just like the pieces. We've gone over it. The more I've gone back and looked, boy, it's incredible though. When you go actually look at the amount of guys that left and the amount of guys that came in, you are going to be able to watch a lot of college football in games, not including Ohio State, and check out guys that very well because they are all over the map.
Yeah, and another thing he said, and he admitted before he even gave the answer, the irony here, Ryan Day's been maybe more outspoken than anybody, and he's 100% right. That the transfer portal window, having it when they have it is absolutely ridiculous. As you and I have said, Dan, it would be akin, it's not apples to apples, but it's pretty damn close. It would be akin to the NFL having free agency start while the NFL playoffs are going on. Like, it's absolute insanity to have the transfer portal when it is. And they hide behind, well, we want to make sure kids can enroll at their new school in time. Yeah, because education is such a big factor here. You have Carson Beck saying he basically didn't go to school for the last 2 years. He was kind of joking about that. But here's the irony. Ryan Day's been so outspoken about that, but he said, you know what? Now that the dust is settled, it's nice knowing our team is we know this is our team. This is our team. We can go to work. The freshmen, almost all of them have come in. Almost all the transfer guys have come in, if not all of them. And bam, now they can go to work. Winter workouts right now with Maradi are going on. They're going to go into spring ball. That starts March 10th, I believe. I think the spring game is the 18th of April, somewhere around there. And they got their entire team together. You're not going to have guys coming in like June other than like walk-ons or like a Bo Atkinson last year from the portal. This is their team. Even though he didn't like it, he likes it now.
Also, if you look at the rankings, Dave, they do transfer portal rankings now at 24/7 Sports. We finished 5th, first team in the Big Ten. So Indiana gets all this pub about who they're bringing in. Our evaluators have it as Ohio State 5th, top team in the Big Ten. And I think we've had we took 16 transfers, I believe. LSU was number 1. They took 40. So it's that aggregate thing or average per player. So you're trying to kind of rank teams going about it with a difference in philosophy. But player for player, it almost looks like, the way Ohio State approaches recruiting. They don't have to, and they definitely don't now have to take and pay guys that you don't think are going to play. The guys that come in the back end of the freshman class now are going to be tantamount to walk-ons. You know what I'm saying? You're probably going to take 5 to 10 guys each trip now, each cycle, who are just coming to earn their way up the roster, maybe get a stipend as opposed to the big dollar fellas. So those guys will be, targeted. But I just like the way the roster is coming together. And I'm telling you, it really does have a professional feel to it now. I mean, he hired I'm sure we'll talk about this. The way Ryan is setting it up, he's really going to be technically a walk-around coach.
I give him credit we're going to have a boarding house item talking about special teams specifically today. They also hired the special teams coach from Illinois. We haven't even talked about that yet. That's another good hire. I was really wondering, man, it'd be nice if we go out and get a special teams coordinator too. Am I asking for too much? Because they do have Rob Keyes there, who's the former Findlay head coach, D2 level, who helps out with special teams as a quality control coach. They obviously have Nate Ebner. I think that the coverage units actually were pretty good this year on special teams. So I think Ebner is actually doing a pretty good job. But I was like, man, it'd be nice just to bring in like a special teams coordinator. Boom, he did it. I love that Ryan Day's not being stubborn. He realized the only time he stepped back as a CEO truly was in 2024. Worked out pretty well. They won the national title. He even said on his rate, he's like, I realized after the season, he said, Brian did a great job, Hartline, meaning he's not going to throw Brian Hartline under the bus. Do we think he did a great job? I don't know if he really believes that. Probably not. But he's not going to throw him under the bus because Ryan Day is a class act. And I like that. But he was clear about it. He was like, I just felt after the season, I wanted to get an experienced play caller. That was a prerequisite. He said being a former NFL head coach, not a prerequisite, but definitely like a nice bonus. I just give him credit for not being stubborn. Like, he never really had a special teams coordinator. He's like, finally realizes, all right, forget this. My way is not working. I'm going to go get a special teams coordinator. Okay, I've elevated Hartline last year, and I've been calling plays every year, really, except for one. I need to step back and let somebody else call the plays. I love that he's not being stubborn. He just keeps finding ways to improve the program and not being like, it's my way or the highway. He just wants what's best for Ohio State, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, if you heard he spoke, you could read breadcrumbs on this one. He spoke at one point in time later in the year about, we had the Oregon situation 2 years ago with Knowles, where everyone really knows Ryan stepped in and kind of said this, and that, and they kind of changed. He said he hadn't had to spend really any time, and I put that in air quotes, with the defense because it was Matt's. Like, it's his defense. I think he's going to turn the offense over to Art Smith. I don't think Art Smith is coming here to, fill the same role that Brian Hartline did. And I have no offense to Brian Hartline, but he was raised in the building and had never gone outside the building to call plays. That's just not the same thing. So you're going from no special teams guy and an offensive coordinator who was kind of in the house to a full-time special teams guy and a full-time offensive coordinator who has a real track record, has his own ideas, has shown real leadership. And, Hartline is going to get the chance to do that at South Florida. But, yeah, and I like the fact that Art Smith played offensive line at North Carolina. That doesn't hurt at all. And then his running – and I say this again – I ask everyone who I talk to about this, who's the best player on the Steelers? This is old content. Who is the best player on the Steelers? Name 5. You're not going to get to their MVP. It was Kenneth Gainwell. And the team voted on that. And that's from the running scheme. So
Not often the backup running back is, but I see why he was a really call him a backup running back really isn't fair because he was their third down back. He played a lot, split time exactly. But how often is the backup running back, especially a journeyman backup running back, your team MVP?
Journeyman is the key point. He's played on other teams.
Yeah, he was with the Eagles. He had a good game in the Super Bowl one year, that's for sure. Because I remember I won a prop bet on. I was like, this is how much of a degenerate I was. I think I bet like the over on Kenneth Gainwell's receiving yards in the Super Bowl because it was like really low. It was like 11.5, and I'm like,
yeah, but that might be indicative that you have a problem. But that's okay.
He got. Oh, I'm it's totally a problem.
You're betting on props on a reserve. I think he was the fourth running back for the Eagles, if I remember correctly.
They had somebody out, and he was like actually getting safety like touches, and I have a problem, but I won that one. So I probably should co-host.
And really, is it really a problem if you're winning?
No, and it's really not a problem if I'm getting paid to do a radio show where I talk about sports gambling. So then if I do lose, I justify it with, well, they're paying me to talk about this. I guess you got to kind of lose every once in a while just to be able to talk to the people about it.
Feels like a write-off.
I'm joking. People, if you're not into sports betting, don't get into it. That's my advice. And if you do get into it,
let's just put it this
low and slow.
They've got plenty of.
It's like you're like you're steaming meat, like you're smoking meat. You want to low and slow. You don't want to be you're trying to pay your bills with sports betting, or you're going to be like losing like your lunch. You're going to be getting divorced. You're going to have to sell your car and your house. So go low and slow on the sports betting if you're going to do it.
I don't get the impression that sports betting is having an issue attracting users these days. I think they're doing just fine.
I think people at FanDuel and DraftKings can they have generational wealth now. All right. And another thing I like here is like we're all thinking, well, Patricia was a home run hire, but might be one and done. Hopefully he stays a second year. He is staying a second year. And what I would say to that, let's say everything goes well this coming year, and let's say Arthur Smith is one and done. I'm perfectly fine with that because what's college football turned into? A year-to-year transaction. It's what it really is. Do we look back unfondly about the Chip Kelly hire? Not that he was the main reason they won the national championship, but we're not like, oh, yeah, it was all right. Won the national title, but Chip only stayed 1 year. It's like, no. And Ryan's proved now, other than promoting Heartline, which was a mistake, but he's proven now he's going to go out and get guys like Chip Kelly and Matt Patricia and now Arthur Smith. So if he does leave after 1 year, hopefully he's here for more than one. Because I think the plan is he's going to be here for 2 unless like North Carolina job opens up because Bill Belichick and Michael Lombardi are complete disasters. Especially Michael Lombardi is a complete disaster. I want to make that clear. He's their version of Mark Pantoni, and he's like got to be the worst in college football. If North Carolina job opens up and they hire him as the head coach, so be it. If everything works out well at Ohio State, no one will look back and regret the hire because Ryan's going to go out and find somebody else. And if he stays for 2 years, that's great. But if he goes back to the NFL, maybe he gets a primo NFL offensive coordinator job or something like that. I don't know. My point is I've heard a lot of people worry about that. It goes back to still basking. My thing is with that is I wouldn't spend – you guys can do whatever you want, obviously. I wouldn't spend a lot of time worrying about is he going to be here more than 1 year. Like, just be glad he's here. And I think it was a home run hire. And if he leaves after a year and the Buckeyes win the national championship, so be it. Like, just enjoy it because college football has turned into a year-to-year transaction anyway.
This is more about someone's going to write a book about the professionalization of college football and have all these anecdotal stuff in there. The NFL, for those of you that have followed an NFL team religiously and the Buckeyes religiously, the NFL is way more 52 pickup every year than college. I mean, NFL flips over. What percentage of each of your roster flips over every year? 40%, if not more. And it's not youth based. It's playing time based. So it's completely different than college, where you have kind of that natural evolution of guys moving up, which is going away, by the way, because you're now handpicking Earl Little to replace people rather than waiting on your ex-sophomores or such. So let's also ask yourself this question. Play that scenario out. Art Smith comes in, does well, goes on to be the head coach of North Carolina. If you were an elite offensive coordinator and saw that everybody was going to Ohio State, Bill O'Brien was there for 10 minutes, got the Boston College job. Chip Kelly was there for a year, got a raise to be the offensive coordinator of the Raiders, regardless of how it worked out. Brian Hartline We are even saying maybe he shouldn't even have been there. He got a head coaching job at South Florida.
Even Kevin Wilson got it was Tulsa, but even Kevin Wilson was a head coach.
So you did it there. Good for Ron. And then you get to now where Art Smith will have gone to North Carolina. Ask yourself this question. If you wanted to be a head coach, would you want to go be an offensive coordinator at Ohio State, given the fact the last 4 guys had done it, and you're going to inherit skill players to stop traffic? So attracting people to Ohio State is not an issue. I know that people, because it's our team, we get a little oogie about it. It's kind of like the schedule people talked about. And everyone's like, oh, I'm going to lose 3 games. When Texas got that schedule, you think they're psyched to be opening with Ohio State? Do you think Indiana looks at the schedule and goes, oh, that's a W. Oh, that's a dub. No. So we need to take the horse blinds off a little bit and give the team some credit. Yes, I realize they didn't win the national championship, but acquiring talent has not been an issue for Ohio State in the transfer portal. It's not been an issue in free agency, as I air quote that, or getting coaches. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, well, what have they done in the I'm like, look at the quarterbacks they've added in the transfer portal since this whole thing got started. Justin Fields, Will Howard. How'd those go? Pretty good? Yeah. I mean, Caleb Downs, is he the best defensive transfer of all time? If you can even raise the question.
Look at it, but probably. I mean.
So let's – we're in good shape. We're in great shape. We're in great shape.
That 2024 portal class, we said it even at the time. This is going to as the season played out. We didn't say it right when they got there, or maybe we did. They didn't get a lot of guys, but they went home run, home run, home run, home run, ground rule, double, triple. They brought in Caleb Downs. They brought in Quinshon Judkins.
That's the one.
Will Howard. They bring in Seth McLaughlin, who wasn't there for the playoff run. All he did was win the Remington Award. Will Kazmarek, maybe it wasn't a home run, but he's at least a ground rule double, maybe a triple. They brought in Julian Sayin, and that's weird to kind of clump him in there. They went 6 for 6. So they only got 6 guys, and I guess they got that Keenan Nelson Jr. too. I guess you have to say they got 7. So they went 6 out of 7. They just got him as a depth piece because he didn't even really play on special teams very much.
Dave, do you remember? I told you I wanted Quinshon Judkins for the Cowboys.
I know.
On a show. And then the next show, they're like, he's transferring to Ohio State. I'm like, what do you mean?
Is Travion leaving? That's what we were like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
And we hear it. They went to Travion and asked him, would you be okay with this? And he thought about it. He said, yes, let's do it. So cool. So cool that Travion. And it's also cool we got Buckeyes on both sides. We got Buckeye head coach Mike Vrabel in the Super Bowl. We got Travion. And we've got Thayer Munford, who's their 6th man on the offensive line, comes in jumbo sets. And we've got, of course, the best or second best wide receiver in football, Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's either him or Jeremiah Smith. I won't say Jamar Chase and get myself in trouble with Buckeye Nation again.
Dave, if you could have for the rest of Joe Burrow's career, Jamar Chase or Jackson Smith and Jigba, who would you take?
Who do you think Joe Burrow would take?
I didn't ask that.
I would take Jamar Chase.
Okay. I wouldn't.
Okay.
There's no risk with Jackson Smith and Jigba. None.
No risk with Jamar Chase. None. He loves ball. He doesn't get in trouble.
He is pretty awesome. I gotta admit that.
He's freaking.
He's more talented physically than Jackson Smith and Jigba. I get that. I've never seen anybody as good a receiver as him run after the catch like that. But there's just something about JSN was when I heard Garrett Wilson say in a meeting on television with 2 other guys out loud, he's the best receiver I've ever seen. I'm out. I'm sold. It's like Kevin Garnett and Gary Payton arguing the LeBron versus Jordan thing. At some point in time, you have to take someone else's opinion on stuff that knows better than you. And I think Garrett Wilson knows better, so I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Jamar Chase on the Cowboys if everyone wants to come over.
You couldn't go wrong either way. Yeah, I was going to say that's like Jamar Chase. It doesn't just run like a running back after he gets the ball, Neil, but I know he runs like an elite running back after he's so.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
He's so damn good. But JSN is so damn good too, and so is Jeremiah. I mean, as soon as Jeremiah steps into the NFL, he's going to be a stud from day one. I know I'm not breaking news there, so we're going to have
Jeremiah over both.
I probably, yeah,
definitely.
I think I would. Yeah, which is insane to say that about the 2 best receivers in the NFL. That's how great JJ is. That's how great JJ is. The Athletic picked him. They had their staff. They picked him overwhelmingly to win the Heisman. You look at the Heisman odds, he's like 5th, but the Athletic staff, they did a, little preview to next year, and they picked Jeremiah Smith overwhelmingly to win the
Heisman. Lot of people are going to, you're talking about the definition of a college household name. 3 years as the best player in football. I can't even remember the last time that happened. Can you? I mean, he's the definition of a household name in college, which is not the easiest thing to pull off.
Yeah, they've had some nervous moments, to say the least. It started with the Ryan Day press conference on signing day, where he kind of buckled his knees. He did that for show. I think Pantoni, or one of Pantoni's staff members, must have been walking by the team room in the hallway and must have told him, because he looked up back there. Like, I'm in the front row, looking up at Day, and he looks up and then goes, oh. And then I think it was Wagon. I think Steve Helbach was like, "So you got him, huh?" And Dave was like, he couldn't say it yet because it wasn't signed, but he got the word that, because they had Jeremiah, and then I think Miami came in with a big offer. So Ohio State, I don't even know if they matched, but they had to come in with a bigger offer. He accepted it, and they had to take care of him after the national championship year, and they did. And then teams were coming after him again. And I hear he's making a lot of money, as we've talked about before. A lot. You know what it is. I know what it is. And I hear he took like $1 million less to stay at Ohio State than what he was offered by other schools. So I love Jeremiah. Last thing. So you talked about, when you're talking about all the guys he's brought in, and how if you're an offensive coordinator out there, an offensive mind, you're thinking, ooh, that'd be a good place. That'd be a good place to go. I'm sure there's a bunch of guys out there right now that have jobs thinking, might want to be on Ryan Day's staff if that ever opens up again. It reminds me so much of Saban. It reminds me so much of Saban's coaching rehab down there, and it always worked. You'd be like, really? He's bringing Lane Kiffin in? Like, what do you want to say about Lane? Although I still say Lane screwed up against Ohio State, and I will love him for this forever. To have Blake Sims throw the ball 36 times against the Buckeyes, gave the ball to Derrick Henry, I think 13 times. I was like, way to go, Lane. But seriously, look at all the guys he brought in. Bill O'Brien, who was
Pat Shermer.
Brian
Dable,
Jones, exactly. On and on. Oh, Sark had gotten fired. Sark after dark stuff. All these guys with their stock was low. Lane Kiffin had just gotten fired on the tarmac. Sark got fired for getting drunk at an event, or maybe it was medication.
No. Come on, don't give me the medications. Like
I said, and alcohol. I said, and alcohol.
That's like the Hollywood star who checks in the hospital. Like, it's for dehydration. I'm like, oh, they just haven't drinking enough water out there in Hollywood. Oh, okay. It's
like when Frank Solich, and I love Frank Solich. Nothing against him. Maybe there's a 1% chance the story is true, because they bought it when he was found he was at the Ohio University as head coach. He's out at an Athens bar, and then he leaves the bar. He's found passed out in his car, and he said, "Oh, somebody slipped me something in my drink."
Dave, if Frank Solich had never taken the job at OU, Joe Burrow would never have been in Athens, Ohio.
That's true. His dad followed him there as defensive coordinator. That's a great point, Dan Rubin.
I think he was linebacker guy, right?
He was
defensive coordinator.
His brothers, half brothers, but both of his brothers played linebacker at Nebraska. That's a Nebraska family. That's probably why he's so nice to Zach Taylor. Because Zach Taylor's a Nebraska guy.
This also reminds me of the worst. We say Caleb Downs. This I'm sure of. This there's no doubt on. Caleb Downs may be the greatest defensive transfer of all time. The worst decision by an organization of all time in transfers, yay or nay, Joe Burrow wanted to transfer to Nebraska. And they told him, we're good. We got Martinez. I can't remember the first name. We're good. Right. In fact, Joe Burrow was going to Cincinnati, took a weekend trip to LSU and never came back.
Right.
However, his dad coached at Nebraska. He wanted to go to Nebraska. He's now arguably the best quarterback on the earth. And you said, no, we're going to take the halfback to play quarterback some more so we can't pass the ball down the field. In retrospect, the worst decision ever made in personnel, maybe ever of all time. Because where would Nebraska's program be now had they built for a few years with Joe?
No doubt. Just 2 years with Burrow, it can do wonders for you. That first year with LSU, everybody talks about it, but they hadn't brought in Joe Brady yet, and he didn't. That offensive line was terrible his first year with LSU. People are like, well, look at Joe Burrow's numbers his first year at LSU. It's like, okay. Nussmeier was the offensive coordinator, and Nussmeier was the offensive coordinator the following year as well, but he really wasn't. They brought in Joe Brady, who actually called the plays. And then he also had a freshman wide receiver named Jamar Chase, who was pretty good. And Justin Jefferson was okay.
Who was the third receiver?
Jeez.
It was someone good. And then I think they had the running back, the hyphenated. Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, Helaire ended up being a first-round pick. It wasn't a good first-round pick, but he was a first-round pick. Yeah, that team was loaded. That team was loaded. But, yeah, man, it reminds me so much of what Saban did. And I absolutely love it. And your Burrow story, that's something that you and I know that I bet a lot of people don't know, that he 100% was going to go to Cincinnati. How do we know this?
Who's done?
His dad told Bill Kurelic
right.
He's going to play for Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. Not like he's interested. He was going to go play for Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. Poor Luke. He's thinking he's getting Joe Burrow. And then he gets the call. Oh, crap. He's taking a visit to LSU. They're not even going to let him leave. And Orgeron, those guys, they were not going to let him leave.
No.
They rolled out the red carpet for him. And you're right. And the Nebraska thing, nobody talks about that. No, I almost even forgot about that.
Because he's a Nebraska guy. Like, yes, I know that the public thinks he's Mr. Athens, Ohio, and he was. He spent a lot of his life there. But his dad, the football nucleus of the Burrow clan, it's built on the Tom Osborne era.
Right. No doubt. I mean, that family is steeped in Nebraska love. If you, I follow one of his brothers. One of his brothers used to tweet a lot. I think probably because his brother is like completely famous now. He doesn't tweet quite as much. I don't know if those things are related. I imagine they are. But he would always like tweet stuff about Nebraska and everything. And man, yeah, that's unbelievable. I almost forgot about that. Nebraska could have had Burrow. Not only could have had, he wanted to go there, like you said. And they're like, nah, we're good. Was that Adrian Martinez? Was that his name?
There's an agent. Was there a Cameron Martinez somewhere?
Taylor Martinez.
Taylor. Good calls. One of the Martinez guys. And he could run. He could run like the wind. And unfortunately,
passing
he was a quarterback. And he was like the shot putter.
And he was skinny, right? Skinny.
I mean, he was a tremendous athlete. Probably shouldn't. I said this about Robert Griffin. He should have been a decathlete, not a football player. You know what I'm saying? Like he would, like Robert. Anyway, he just couldn't throw, and it's just hard to believe. And in retrospect, literally might be the worst decision of all time, personnel wise.
Adrian, yeah, we're seeing.
Was it Scott Frost that said no?
Is undefeated. Like, let's say we forgot, like. Who was that guy with apostrophes in his name when Robert Smith took the year? I can't remember. Butler by Note. Let's say I couldn't remember that. 100 people in the chat would have been like, that was Butler by Note, and they would have spelled it correctly too.
Yep.
The 2 apostrophes and by Note.
Adrian.
So, yeah, Adrian Martinez. I don't know, man. I can understand taking Adrian Martinez over Joe Burrow.
Sure.
No, I can't. No, I can't. No.
Here's what we want you to do in the chat. Tell us what Adrian Martinez is doing right now. Go hit the LinkedIn.
Wishing he was
Joe Burrow. Get that quickly for us before we end the show. Let me tell you what he's not doing. Becoming like the most famous quarterback in the world and like walking on the red carpet at like fashion shows and having supermodels throw themselves at him consistently. Is that how it's going for Big A? Doubtful.
When Joe Burrow gets stuff stolen from his house when his supermodel girlfriend's there, like, and has to call the cops, that stuff that gets stolen is more than Adrian Martinez has, period. I mean, yeah. Joe Burrow's house in the Cincinnati area, as you can imagine, my goodness gracious. Goodness gracious.
Does he live in Covington?
No, he lives in Ohio.
Okay. I know a lot of the guys live across the bridge.
Someone will know in the chat. I think it's in Indian Hill. I think. I'm not sure about that, though. It could be one of the more – Indian Hill's kind of like the Oakwood or the Upper Arlington. It's like older. So beautiful houses. I mean, you got to be filthy rich to live there, as you know, being in Oakwood. I don't know.
We're on the east side, dude. Side. Mr. Bucknuts lives in one of the biggest houses on the west side.
Yes, he does.
If you even step near the property, you got a red dot on there because the snipers are out. But it's an impressive setup. Let me tell you something. Let's just say this: there's a nunnery. Google it.
Google it.
His house has a nunnery.
Isn't his house more valuable? No, I could be getting this because growing up in the Dayton area, it was like Wright Brothers' house was like that was the Wright Brothers mansion was the thing. Isn't Lee's house worth more than that, or am I getting that wrong?
I don't know if it's worth more than that, but I do know that around the corner from me is the biggest house on this side of town, and Lee used to live in that house. And someone knocked on his door and said, "I want to buy your house," and he's like, "I'll trade you." And he's like, "No one has a bigger house than me." And the guy's like, "It's that one." He's like, "Oh, you do? I'll trade."
Good trade. Good trade.
And like I said, it has a nunnery in the back. So it used to be like, I don't know what it was. And they had that built out. It's now a guest house. There's tunnels underneath. There's tennis courts. Don't try and go there, though, unless you like security.
That's right. Yeah. Don't try and like break into Lee's house. You will get shot.
No.
I do want to mention this because you're stealing a little bit of thunder from me because I'm going to do a story on this, James, on Facebook. Because there was a lot of meat on that bone. A lot of times on these radio shows, Ryan will have somebody else do the final segment for him, or sometimes even the final 2 segments. He'll stay around for about 40 minutes. He stayed for the full 60 minutes. So there was a lot of good information. One of the pieces of good information, he was talking about some of the incoming freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
A young man named Legend Bay, who had a very smooth recruitment, as we all remember. Family didn't get involved at all. Legend Bay has wheels. He's been compared to, not quite as fast, but I've heard him compared to Teddy Ginn, the head coach of the Columbus Aviators. Boom. They have Todd Haley as their offensive coordinator. The Columbus Aviators of the UFL with Teddy Ginn as head coach. They have Todd Haley, a former NFL head coach, as their offensive coordinator. Anyway, what did Ryan Day say about Legend Bay? He said, man, he's like a poor man's Tyreek Hill. That is awesome. Hopefully not off the field, though.
Yeah, I doubtful. My guy off the field, Tyreek Hill off the field, is a little bit of a loose cannon, and has some really ugly stuff on his track record. So let's not go there. Dave, if I look at the roster and I think about last year, what my concerns were when I got a chance to let the dust settle, I don't think they were explosive enough in the middle of the field. You've got Bo had some great plays. I think down the field, 18 and out, they're the best with Tate and Smith. But it was that middle of the field where you get the ball to that one guy and panic ensues and he can kind of make something out of nothing. Or maybe if one of your running backs is a true home run hitter. We did not have that. And they did not add a running back in the transfer portal, in my opinion, that would solve that. But Legend Bay and Turbo Rogers, if we can get them involved, that to me is that hybrid middle of the field. Do you remember when Reggie Bush first joined the Saints and he'd go in motion and it was like Steph Curry? The entire team goes with him this way. We need someone who puts fear every time they touch the ball in people's hands. I think Jeremiah has that a little bit, but maybe not in the Bo Jackson is not the most electric straight. So I think Legend Bay, the way they could improve the offense is a little bit more of those reverses, dumps, screens, almost the way Paris Campbell was used. Don't forget, Paris led the team in receptions, and most of them were that fake handoff, where he just runs across the field. But It kept you honest, because if you want to see someone turn the corner, when Paris Campbell turned the corner, it was lights out, dude. It was like Pee Wee football. Don't let him get the corner; it's over.
Oh, that Michigan
more
game
guys like that.
That play against Michigan in 2018 is the perfect example. He took that little pitch from Dwayne Haskins, just and like Metellus and all those guys looked like they had the angle on him, and Paris Campbell goes, "No, you don't." Like 2 seconds later, he's in the end zone. Turbo Rogers is another guy, and I talked to a really good source inside the WAC about a week and a half ago, and they said, "Yeah, we loved our wide receivers and everything. We needed to get like more of a speed element, and guys like Legend Bay and Turbo Rogers are." And you don't want to sit there and put too much on a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. These are the guys that are going to lead our speed element, but they're going to help.
It doesn't need to be. Yeah, excuse me to interrupt. It doesn't need to be a heavy touches position. It's a fear position. I mean, speed is speed. It does. You know what I'm saying? It's consistent. If you put Legend Bay on the field on third down, everyone's going to be like, oh, you know how it is. We've seen this before. He's going to have a cool number. It's probably going to be a single digit. He's going to get a couple highlights, and people are going to be overly fearful, and we get after it. But I don't care if, like I said, if it's Legend Bay, great. If it's Turbo Rogers, great. If Isaiah West turns into more of an explosive player when he's fully healthy, great. They just need a more explosive element to the everyday play. See what I'm saying? Like, yes, I could tell they scripted up big plays, and it was easy to do that with Jeremiah. We need the guy who, like, you throw the guy a screen pass, a guy misses a tackle, and it's 6. And then the fear for that brings the safety over, and then you got more. So the trickle-down effect. We just need to be more explosive. And I do think You've made a real good point about how Day has done great self-scouting. I think he knows he probably was too conservative this year. He knows that there are probably some teams talent-wise we could blow out and then play our defense rather than try and tussle with them all game and go the Parcells way where you get a block kick or something and it goes against you. You miss a field goal and it's really impactful. So it looks like they're learning from what their mistakes were. So I'm very optimistic. The idea of building the staff out and having everyone's attention to detail be there. And just like, I know people were complaining about the Illinois guy, he was the combo tight ends coach and special teams coach there. Maybe didn't do great with tight ends. He's not coaching tight ends here. He's coaching special teams. He's got a job. So I'm very optimistic.
And I like the guys like, and maybe Arthur Smith would want to. I'm guessing a guy that was already filthy rich due to things like Waffle House and FedEx and being an NFL head coach probably didn't want to go fly around the country and recruit. Maybe he did. Matt Patricia's enjoying it. But the fact that you can just take that off his plate, that was pretty nice. That was pretty nice when Ryan Day was able to go to, to Art Smith and be like, listen, you just focus on the offense. Yeah, when we bring guys in the building, we want you to talk to them, obviously. But you don't need to go on the road to recruit. You just come here, you run the offense. I'm sure that was very appealing to Arthur Smith as opposed to, we need you pounding the pavement, flying all over the country to try and sell 17-year-old kids, 6-year-old kids and their parents and their third uncles and their agents. And you might not even get the kid, or the kid might commit to you and at the last minute decommit because he wants more NIL money. A guy like Art Smith is not going to want to deal with that nonsense.
I know that, but also keep this in mind. If you're going to meet him at the WAC.
Right.
When they walk up there, when your dad turns and goes, this guy was the head coach of the Falcons. You're like, okay.
You think the kids from Georgia won't be impressed with that?
Whatever. It's in general. If you go to meet the offensive coordinator of your college team and, he was an NFL head coach, that's a pretty good credential. Yep, for the dad and the mom and whoever's making the decisions and the AAU coach and the hangers-on and the NIL and the money. And I don't know what the hell's going on anymore, but we should get good players here.
Crazy. All right. Great stuff, Dan. Appreciate it, man. Big live audience.
A good one, Netters.
Guys, a lot. Big live audience. Look at that number. Big live audience. And thanks to all the people in the chat and our live audience. And thanks to everybody that's listening to the podcast-only version. You guys are awesome. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to all of you. Go Bucks.